you're a sergeant still?
With the investigators now.
So you're investigator, not sergeant?
Yeah, no, not sergeant, just
You
investigator.
want me to call you investigator Vasquez or Mr. Vasquez? Or?
It doesn't matter, however, whatever's easier.
Well, my name's Nico, and you can call me Nico.
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to cut you off. A lot of that you were saying was not relevant to Adrian, right, or this trial, but
Okay.
I think we're all just wanted to hear from you, and we're grateful that your daughter's okay, and thank you for your service. But have you testified before in your duties as a police officer?
Not to this magnitude, but
In trial, you have?
yes, sir.
Have you been cross-examined by a defense attorney?
Yes.
Maybe, okay. Well, there's no gotcha. You're not the opponent here. We're just going to ask questions. I'm going to ask for your information and what you knew or didn't know, and really talk about some of your experience, okay?
Okay.
If you don't understand my question, you stop me. Say, Nico, can you repeat that? Or I don't understand what you're saying, and I'll do that.
Yes, sir.
So it sounds like, may I call you Joe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, Joe. It sounds like that you were kind of operating in two functions. You were operating as a law enforcement officer, but also as a daddy.
Whatever I was needed.
I know, but you don't divorce yourself from being a daddy, right?
No.
I mean, you weren't just going to any school, you were going to the school. I mean, in all of us as parents, there's a lot of schools that we care about, but then there's the school that we care about where our children go.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And no trick questions, just
No,
tell
I
me if you
understand.
understand me if I'm, so you were driving, at some point you realized it was Robb Elementary,
Yes, sir.
and then you knew that your daughter went to school there.
I didn't know at first, so I have the kids and the ex on a group, and I know two of my kids were going to Morales Junior High, one was going to high school. Ava, I didn't know what school she went to. They said Rob when I was on the way.
Got it, okay. But at some point you realized that was the school that your daughter goes to?
Yes.
Because you've actually, like you testified to this jury, you've picked her up from there before?
Yes.
Okay. And so you get there and you testified that it took you 20 minutes or less to get there?
Believe so, about.
And you said that you stepped in the building at 11:50 something, right?
So, yeah, I'd have to look at the video. I believe it was something like.
If I represented to you that it's 11:56:28, does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
11:50 something. And you said that you threw on your vest, but you weren't aware of its rating.
Yes.
Is it a vest that you wear on a regular basis?
No,
Okay.
that's not a duty vest.
Okay. Where did you get that vest from?
It's from the sheriff's office.
So is it kind of a vest that you grabbed and maybe that's why you didn't know what was it rated for?
It's more of like a tactical style vest, something you wear over, not part of a uniform.
And for the jury's sake, for tactical, you mean people can put extra magazines in there, you can put a flashlight, a knife, something like that?
Yes, sir.
It's not necessarily for protection?
No.
Right. Okay. So then it looks like you showed the jury on this, that you parked where the drop-off is, and looks like you entered the east side of the building.
Yes, sir.
You know now that there's a north side, there's a west side where this animal entered the building, right, this shooter?
Yes.
And then there's the south side, and then you entered the east side, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, as you were going by, you testified, it caught my attention, you said that there were officers, even when you first got there, they were taking cover.
Yeah, it was Border Patrol agents.
They were taking cover that far away?
Yeah, there were. It's a parking lot.
Right.
So there's a drop-off area where you pick up the kids. The
Yes, sir.
parking lot. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been there. And so, but my point is, that's still some distance from the building.
Oh, yes, sir.
And they still felt the need tactically to take some cover.
Yes, sir.
And whenever there's a shooting situation, active shooter, especially with a high-powered rifle, you could be in danger from a long distance away from that.
Yes.
And so if you don't know where the bullets are coming from, it's reasonable and it's tactical to take cover until you figure out where bullets are coming from.
Yes, sir.
So you're not criticizing them, you just thought that was normal.
No, yeah, it was normal.
Okay. But you passed them up, and then you ultimately made your way into the east side of the building, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you said you ran into, was it Eddie Canales?
Yes, sir. Whatever officers were there in that group.
And you said Mike Hernandez as well.
So him, I'm pretty sure it was him. He was by the cafeteria when I After I passed the 2 border patrol, he was coming out by the cafeteria.
May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
We're hearing a bunch of descriptions, so I want to make sure that the
Yeah.
jury understands. You understand what this says?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
talking about? Can you show us what we're again, so for clarity?
So this is the pickup area. I parked here. I believe if it was Mike, it was somewhere around this area.
And what was he doing?
I'm not sure. He was walking out. I don't know if he had keys in his hand or something. He was doing something. I don't know what, but he was walking. the
So you're
opposite.
walking this way and he's walking opposite?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, and Mike Hernandez, he works for
Just
what?
here, could you move? I don't think these folks can see, maybe just.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And so Mike Hernandez works for which PD?
I think he was part of the school. at
Okay.
the time.
And then so you make your way down, and then where do you see the Border Patrol agents?
So the border patrol, the first ones I come into contact with were it's a parking lot. I believe it's right here. And then it's Mike. I believe it was Mike. And then I run into another couple officers here. I don't know if it was PD, county. I don't think it was border patrol.
And for the record, you're pointing out the Border Patrol agents were kind of parallel or side to the drop-off area on the entrance. This is really the entrance of the school, right?
Yeah, yes.
It's really it's east facing, but it's the entrance to the school, right?
Yes, sir.
And the Border Patrol agents reasonably and tactically were taking cover over here.
Yes.
You later knew that the shooting happened here, but they were taking cover over here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so then you make your way down, and then you enter through the east side of the building.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then now that you passed Mike Hernandez and you passed the Border Patrol agents, now you come in contact with Eddie Canales?
Yes, sir.
And who does Eddie Canales work for?
Uvalde PD.
Uvalde PD. That's different than the school district, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and does he have rank with UPD?
I think he was a lieutenant at the time.
So Eddie Canales, and is he briefing you about what happened?
Yes.
Okay, you can have a seat now, sir. And so, and so you got briefed by Lieutenant Canales about the attempted breach, initial officers that went into the building, and the fact that the shooter shot at those officers, and two of them were hit.
Yes.
One of them was skimmed in the head, and the other one was hit in the ear.
Yes.
You're aware now that officers early on initially tried to get into that building and tried to breach that classroom, right?
Yes.
And one of those officers was Adrian Gonzalez. You know that, right? Now.
Now, yes.
Yes. At the time you didn't know, but you knew there were early officers before the 376 officers showed up. There were early officers, 5 to be specific, that tried to breach, that went into the building, and 2 of them were hit.
Yes.
Do you know now that they came in from different angles? Some of them came from the south, Adrian and another officer, and others came from the north side.
Yes.
And tactically, that's not wise, but you had no choice, right?
Yeah.
So may I stand up, Judge?
Yes.
So if you and I are in this hallway, and you're standing over there, Joe, and I'm here with weapon, and we're both going to a danger, what could potentially happen between you and I?
Crossfire.
Explain to the jury what crossfire is.
Crossfire is pretty much as he explained it. I'm not going to want my partner on the other side of wherever I'm shooting. You got to keep in mind the backdrop, right? Make sure nobody's on the other side of the bad guy, pretty much. Stay out of the path of fire.
But you later found out that those initial 5 officers, they didn't even think of their own safety. They went in and they subjected themselves not only to this shooter, but to crossfire. Correct?
Yes.
It's called friendly fire or blue on blue fire. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And that happened. And so that might not have been explained to you at that moment, but you were prepared to help out in any way possible.
Yes, sir.
And by the time you showed up at 11:56:28 roughly, there were numerous officers there.
Yes, I'm not sure of the number, but those officers.
Did you later find out that there were 376 total officers there?
Yes.
And so then you offer your help to Lieutenant Canales to go in, correct?
Well, not me by myself, but I did mention making entry.
So you suggested, are we gonna try to make entry?
Yes.
But not by yourself?
No, not by myself.
Why?
You need a team, and there's enough of us there to form one.
So, 'cause I don't know if that's been explained to the jury, so explain, why do you need a team to breach a door?
Of course, they teach if you're by yourself, you go by yourself, but if there's enough for a team, you're going to form a team. The first guy, the second guy might get hit, second or third, the rest can return fire and take out the shooter.
And there's a difference in breaching a door. There's a difference between an inward breach door, inward swinging door, and an outward swinging door, correct?
Yes.
And we're gonna talk about some techniques of breaching, but explain the difference between an inward swinging door and an outward swinging door and what the complications are.
An inward door, you'd be able to probably kick open. It's easier to breach. Outward door with a steel frame, you're not going to be able to kick it open. Usually those open towards hallways, corridors.
Judge, may I stand up?
Yes?
So if we have an inward swinging door this way, if this is our room we're trying to breach, this is the hallway, and you agree that a doorway is a fatal funnel.
Yes.
We explained to the jury, they've heard it before, but from your perspective, what a fatal funnel is.
Fatal funnel is this is where you're gonna die at the door. It's easy to, like right now, you can point where you came in through without even looking. That's the advantage this person has. They know where you're coming in, you don't know where they're at.
And you're funneled in, and so it's a narrowing of an area that subjects the person coming through the fatal funnel to high vulnerability.
Yes.
And that's what you said, you're gonna die in a fatal funnel.
Yes.
And so officers are taught to, at almost at all costs, to avoid a fatal funnel,
Yes.
tactically. So an inward swinging door, you said you can either get a ramming device or you can kick open a door and then you can breach it. Correct?
Yes.
And then actually the inward swinging door tactically is to your advantage because if there's someone back here, it's used as distraction or some type of distortion so you can tactically
Yes.
react. But an outward swinging door is different.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that briefly. So Judge, may I use the witness for a demonstration?
Yes?
Joey, do you mind coming here, please? Do you mind if I use you in my demonstration? No problem. Okay. So what is it called stacking if we're going to breach a door? Speak loud, please.
So stacking's gonna be me and 2-3 officers. They're gonna line up behind me. That's a stack team.
Do you need a shield to have a stack, or can you do it without?
Without.
But a shield is better.
Shield's better.
Okay. And so if you breach an inward swinging door, you go where you need to go and tell me where I need to go, because there's corners, and then you don't know where the thread is, right?
Yeah, well, it depends. If it's without a shield, you're probably gonna have the second guy peel right. The second guy's gonna do the opposite of the first guy.
Okay, so let's go. So you go first, and so peeling right would be as you go in, I would peel to this corner, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then I would clear the corner, you would clear the corner, and we would try to see where this thread is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so if you have, so one peels right, you would peel left, who would go for, who takes what role?
So if, like I said, if it's somebody with a shield, you might stay behind the shield. Especially if you're gonna get fired at, you're not gonna really be able to peel away. So your cover's gonna be behind that shield and hopefully he takes care of it.
And so the shield person, depending on the rating, and there's different rated shields, right? There's one for handgun and there's one for long rifle.
Yes,
The one for long rifle is much heavier,
yes.
right? And so usually the person covered with the shield, and then is it called the stick, the stack, is it called kind of a stick sometimes, slang? And so people are back here, the person with the shield, and the person holding the shield, that's their duty. They don't have a gun, they're holding that shield.
Well, yeah, it depends on the training, but there's some
Right.
that he's gonna be in charge, he's gonna be point, and his weapon's gonna be out. Like if it's a hall, then the other guys will pop out, but it's different tactics.
And so different people have different opinions about tactics, right?
Yes,
Can we talk about an outward swinging door?
yes.
Okay, can we use, Judge, may we use the jury room for a second? Just the door, we're not going in.
Yeah, man. They can see.
Can you guys see? Okay, so this is an outward swinging door, right?
Yes.
And will you explain, if you can, I know that the jury's behind you, can you stand where I'm at so they can see you? Explain what the complications are to an outward swinging door in a breach.
So the outward, like I said, this is something you're not gonna be able to kick in. If you don't have a pry tool or something, you're not gonna open that door.
Okay, you mentioned something, so explain to the jury what tools are needed for an outward swinging breach. You said a pry tool, what else? What is that exactly? Why don't you explain what that is?
So a pry tool is something you're gonna jam in there, usually like a Halligan, but you're gonna need a sledgehammer to wedge it in there and pry it open.
So one step at a time. So a Halligan tool has two sides to it, right? One of them looks like a pick and the other one looks like a pointy thing. And so you get this Halligan, some people say hooligan, right?
Yeah.
A Halligan tool, you put it in there and you're gonna want a sledgehammer or some type of battering ram to jam it in.
Yes, sir.
Now the threat on the inside, as you're making all this noise, there's someone on the inside, if they have bad intentions, they can be shooting at you through that door.
Yes.
Or they can be attacking you, whether it's one or more attackers, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you need the Halligan tool and then you need a sledgehammer as well.
Yes.
Then what happens once you do that? Is somebody covering you? Is there a shield? Or there's people at the door trying to wait for?
Yeah, you're gonna have some people lined up with you. Hopefully, they're gonna make entry once you pop the door open.
Who's responsible for opening the door?
Whoever has a Halligan tool, it could be the point guy.
So I'm positioned here, you're positioned there. Hopefully there's a shield in front of me, but this person's vulnerable. Slam, 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 break the lock, and then I pull and I open up this way, and then you guys
Yes.
breach. And then is it the same peel off right and left?
Pretty much depending on the layout of the room.
But now that shield has to be first.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So is it fair to say there's much more complication to an outward swinging door?
Yes, sir.
Do you know, I think you mentioned that they did not have the tools needed?
No.
initially? Did you later find out that they were working on getting the tools?
I remember somebody saying I have a sledgehammer in the bed of my truck, something like that, and they went to get one. I don't know. It might have been Bortec. I'm not sure.
Do you know, and we're gonna talk about Vortec in a second, do you know if anyone had a reeded shield for a high-powered rifle?
I just remember that getting there towards the end. If it was there before, I'm not sure. But yeah.
And whether, at some point when you have a fatal funnel and a high-powered weapon, may I stand up again, Judge?
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know if you want me to ask every time, but I will.
Now, do this. If you want to approach the witness, you want to use the well, just do it.
Thank you for that permission, Judge. In some scenarios, and a fatal funnel, the reason why it's so dangerous, if the threat has a lot of magazines and a high-powered weapon, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 officers on that side, right? I mean, if you have enough rounds, they're just going to pick them off as they come in, correct?
Yes.
And that's why this equipment is so critical. That shield is really critical, because even if you have 1,000 officers that are willing to go in, I mean, they're all going to be picked off eventually if the attacker inside has enough firepower.
Possibly.
If you had a choice, have you ever been in a gunfight?
Not before that.
Okay. Well, thank you for subjecting yourself to that. If you had a choice, this is kind of like a blue gun. It's an orange gun for training. It's not real. If you had a choice to pick a handgun or an AR-15, which one would you choose?
The rifle.
Why would you choose the rifle over a handgun?
It's more accurate, easy to shoot somebody. A pistol, any little deviation and it goes off feet.
Right. And also you can shoot a target at a long distance with a rifle versus a handgun.
Yes, sir.
Now a handgun, you can shoot a certain amount of distance, right?
Yes.
But now, would you agree that combat shooting or training tactically with a handgun, you usually train within 2 to 5 yards, 7 yards, right?
Up to 20 at the range.
Right. And so when you pull, when you draw, you can do a fast draw. You usually at a high rate is pop, 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 double tap, triple tap, and you're doing rapid fire. Correct?
Yes.
But after a certain distance, a handgun is not as reliable, right?
Right.
And so you're typically gonna, if you're gonna shoot with a handgun from a distance, you're going to really take your time, sink down on your grip, make sure your sights are aligned, take a deep breath, and slowly squeeze that trigger. It's not gonna be a fast shot, right?
Right.
But with a high-powered rifle, you can pick up a rifle and you can shoot a lot quicker at longer distances because it has the power and the velocity.
Yes, sir.
So now I want to ask you about potential activity by officers outside the building. So you now know where some of the early officers were in this incident?
Yes.
And just really quick, before we get to this part, the breach to that door was at 12:50, correct?
Yes.
It was almost an hour after
Yes.
you guys, everyone got there.
Yes.
Okay. And that wasn't your decision, by the way.
No.
I'm gonna direct your attention to Defense Exhibit 10. So, are you orienting yourself now? This is Robb Elementary?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, Geraldine,
Okay.
right, Groves over there, and this is the east entrance is over here.
Okay.
West entrance, where the shooter came in, south entrance.
Yes, sir.
You now know that Adrian Gonzalez drove all the way into this incident early on, and the jury will hear about the dispatch later, and he was parked over here. Do you know that now?
Are you telling, well, now?
Yeah, now,
happening, yes.
yeah, now,
Yes.
okay. And so, we can see that, yes, sir.
When you start there, so you can see.
Yeah, give me a different view. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to get oriented a little bit?
I got it, I
This
understand the
side.
west, the east. the-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You see that vehicle over there?
Yes.
Okay. That's, excuse me. That's a police officer unit?
Yes, sir.
And that's where Adrian Gonzalez parked. Okay, and so if an officer is here, there's no line of sight to a shooter that entered into the west building, correct?
Correct.
And so, this officer here, after hearing gunfire without a line of sight, it's reasonable to take cover for some period of time to observe and orient yourself to what's going on and what's going on around you, correct?
Makes sense.
And if the officer's by himself, it's different. Do you think tactically it's different than an officer that shows up to a potentially dangerous situation by themselves versus having backup?
Yes.
And so your tactics have to be a little bit different, right?
Yes.
As you described and educated the jury about tactics of breaching, there's tactics of trying to assess a situation when there's shooting if you're by yourself,
Yes.
right? And so, would you agree with me that in this area there is no cover that you can see?
Just the car, but I mean, it's not gonna stop bullets.
Okay, I want to talk about that. Why did you say that? Why did you tell this jury that a car is not going to stop bullets?
I mean, it could travel on the hood, it can go through doors, it'd have to hit the engine block to stop, more
Okay.
likely.
Right. So with a vehicle, there's the difference between cover and concealment, right?
Yes.
And the jury's heard this already. Let's say this was covered. I'm concealed. My upper body's concealed from you. I'm not covered from you, right?
No.
You could shoot through this
Yes.
TV, but you couldn't see me. So a car is mainly concealment, and only portions of it is cover, right?
Yes.
And you said the engine block is pretty much maybe the wheel frame, whatever, but
Yeah.
is the only cover in a vehicle, right?
Yes.
A tree is not cover. No. An open field is not cover, correct?
No.
This tree is not cover, right?
I can't tell how large the root is, but if
Fair
that's
enough.
all you got, yeah.
Right. And so an officer is by themselves is going to take some time to assess sounds of fire, right? Not visual of the fire, sounds of fire. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And there's no special training on being able to hear. If I hear a gunshot, that's a 9mm AR-15 on the south side of the building because there's echo.
Yes.
So you hear fire, it might sound different vibrating off this building versus inside of a courtroom or outside in an open field, right?
That's true.
And there's no special training that you can tell where fire's coming from.
No.
So, there it is. Now we're back to this one. So, we have an officer over here, and let's say for hypothetical, maybe you know now, there were 3 officers over here, right?
Okay.
And that these 3 officers arrived 25 seconds after Adrian to the scene. Would you agree that these 3 officers have a different line of sight to the west side of the building than Adrian over there in this southeast corner?
Yes.
Line of sight meaning that I can get a visual. Like I can see the people, the person at the back, even though I have my glasses on, the person at the back of the courtroom, I have line of sight to the gentleman at the back of the courtroom, right?
Yes.
These officers potentially, you may or may not have personal knowledge, have line of sight to the west side of the building, right?
Yes.
And if an officer had a long rifle, a long gun on this side of the building, that would be a weapon that would be more suitable to making that shot than a handgun.
Yes.
And if those officers thought they were undertaking fire, then they know that there's a threat from this individual on the west side of the building.
If they're taking fire?
If they thought they were taking fire.
Oh, yeah, then they, yes.
Would it be reasonable for these officers to think they're taking fire even though there would be no evidence of them taking fire? Could it be reasonable? Maybe
If they're hearing gunshots coming from directly in front of them?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'd wonder if I'm getting shot at.
Okay. What would verify that for you? If you're taking fire, you're wondering if you're being shot at, but then at some point, what would verify that to you?
Someone with a gun?
Maybe you'd hear or you'd see the
Oh,
bullets?
yeah, if bullets are bouncing off the road or
Right.
either that or you see somebody with a gun, then you know.
And are officers trained to ask for permission before they need to shoot?
I don't know of any, no, I've never.
So if one of these three officers says, I see him, can I shoot? He didn't have to ask to shoot.
No, you don't ask for permission. Well, I don't know what the policies are with whoever that was.
Let's just
but-
talk about the law.
Yeah,
There's a difference between law and policies, right?
Yes, sir.
Under Chapter 931 and 932 of the Penal Code, you have a right, every citizen, including officers, have a right to self-defense and defense of a third person, correct?
Yes, sir.
If somebody, and this applies to everyday citizens as well, if somebody is is carrying a weapon and they see someone being attacked with deadly force, I don't need to ask permission to use deadly force to stop the use of deadly force against that third person.
No, you don't.
And so if this officer felt they were being shot at, saw an individual with a weapon, and had the time to ask for permission to shoot, that officer didn't have to ask for permission to shoot.
He didn't have to ask.
And you wouldn't have asked for permission
No.
to shoot. And you know that because you have training and experience. If you felt you were being fired upon and you saw someone on the west side of a school building and you heard through dispatch that there was someone at the school with a gun, discharging the gun, and you heard those discharges thinking you were part of the subject, you would take that AR-15 and you would put rounds downfield, right?
I wasn't there, but I have to believe I would.
That's such an honest answer. Thank you for that. Only one other officer answered that way. Everybody else answered like if they knew they were going to do something. Thank you for saying it that way. You would like to believe that you would put rounds downfield to try to stop that attacker from going in that school.
Yes, sir.
But there's nothing legally that would have stopped one of these three officers from doing that, right?
No.
Let's say that they didn't shoot that officer. That officer did not discharge that weapon. And this, as we know, this animal made it into this door. Do you have any knowledge of school policies of whether that door should have been locked?
So the chief, Arredondo, the town that I live in, Batesville, it has a school district that's part of Uvalde, and
Yes, sir.
and we had done a walkthrough where he walked us through the campus and he showed us that the doors were locked. So I would have assumed that
They should have been locked.
they should have been
And
locked.
so other officers would have assumed that as well, maybe,
Yes.
right? Okay, but this door should have been locked. All school doors should be locked, right?
Yes.
But if, for some reason, if these three officers saw this shooter get into this door, in your training experience, you would agree that those officers should have driven to that west side door and breached and gone into that door following this shooter, right?
If they saw someone with a gun going in there, yes.
Would it make any sense to you, practically, legally, tactically, why they would drive all the way around to this side of the building and enter the other way? Does that make any sense?
No.
So out of the four officers, the four first officers at the scene, between Adrian Gonzalez over here, there's no evidence and he did not see this shooter, and these three officers, who had a better line of sight of this shooter?
It would have been over here.
Who had a better opportunity to stop this shooter?
It would be the three on this side. If they actually saw the shooter, then it would be them.
Who had the ability to stop this shooter?
whoever had a rifle.
And someone on the southeast side of the building could not see when this person entered the building, correct? From where their vantage point was.
Well, if they're if from over there, you wouldn't be able to see anything around that corner.
Right. So out of these 4 officers, who would have known, from vantage points, who would have known when that shooter entered the building?
From
These
that-
3 or Adrian?
It would have to be those 3. on
It would
that
have
side.
to be, it would have to be these 3, right? And so if it has to be these 3, whose responsibility would, because they know, to chase this animal from going into this building?
It would have to be whoever saw him on this. Whoever had visual of him.
And you can't, can you think of any reason why they wouldn't run and chase into this west building? Can you think of any reason why they wouldn't do that? Tactically.
I don't know.
I don't either. Just want to talk about the breach briefly. I think you testified that when they unlocked the door, they didn't use a Halligan, they didn't use a sledgehammer, they didn't use a wedge, a pry bar, nothing, right? They got a key.
Yes, sir.
And do you know now that Adrian Gonzalez is the one that found the key for them?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, so they finally got the key, and then they open this door and they breach. And when you guys come in, the shield takes fire. Right?
Yes.
Because actually somebody in the back of the stick, the back of the stack, takes a graze to his head.
Yeah.
And then they return fire and they send that son of a bitch to hell, right?
Yes, sir.
That's a witness.
May I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
I want to start with what you said about waiting for other officers to arrive versus going in by yourself.
Yes, sir.
What is your training if you're by yourself and you hear an active shooter?
Stop the killing. If we're going by alerts training, it's stop the killing.
Do you wait for 3.5 minutes?
No.
What do you do when you hear the gunfire?
Approach it. Stop it.
Approach the gunfire and stop the gunfire.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty standard police work. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Nothing new about that.
No.
And so if you just hear the gunfire but you can't see the gunfire, what do you do?
Can you see that? That's,
If you hear the gunfire but don't see the gunfire, what do you do?
try to assess situation, see if you're getting shot at, or if somebody else is getting shot at.
And if there's shots and they're not at you, what do you do?
Look for where they're coming from.
And how do you look for where they're coming from?
Take off in any direction where you think it might originate from.
And that can be from the sound of the shots fired.
Yes, sir.
When you got to Uvalde, how did you find out where the shooter was?
Just by asking.
And you followed the directions from the people you talked to?
Yes, sir.
And did it take you 3.5 minutes after being told where the shooter was for you to act?
No.
Did you stand there for 3.5 minutes trying to decide if I should go forward?
No.
What did you do?
I just ran wherever they told me he was at until I met with the other officers.
Even though it could be dangerous for you?
Yes, sir.
You also said that you walked with Chief Arredondo. I want to make sure we're clear on that. Chief Arredondo, the chief of the Uvalde Consolidated School District.
Yes, sir.
The chief of the school district where this happened.
Yes, sir.
And why were you with him?
So the town I live at, that school is part of Uvalde School District. He was a fairly new chief at the time, and I'm not sure if we reached out to him, he reached out to us, but we were going to do a school walkthrough so the deputies could become familiar with that school. So we did a walkthrough. I'm not sure if it was a year before that, months, but it was shortly after he was hired, and that's where we went through and he checked all the doors. Not every single one, but every door he checked was locked.
And what was his response to that?
He was proud.
he was the security for the school,
Yes.
and he was proud that his people did as he, the security chief, had said.
Yes.
And when you say you wanted to be familiar with the school, tell me about that.
Well, I was familiar with the school. I grew up there, so unless they renovated, added an extra room, other than that, I knew the whole layout. But the other deputies, they needed to become familiar with it.
So before something horrible happens in a school, the people that are going to be in charge of responding to it go familiarize themselves with the layout of the school.
Yes, sir. Because that school don't have security. There's no campus police there, or wasn't at the time.
But if there were campus police, you would expect them to get familiar with the school before something horrible happened.
Yes.
That's consistent with what police work is all about, right?
Yes, sir.
And did you know Adrian Gonzalez?
I don't know if he recognizes me, but I mean, I know that he worked at the PD, and I remember he worked at one of my kids' daycares.
Okay. And did you see him in the hallway that day?
No, I don't remember anybody on the other side.
And if you hear gunfire and you're by yourself, what do?
You have to, if there's active killing going on, of course, you're supposed to stop it.
And so what does that mean? What do?
Find the source and eliminate it.
Is time of the essence?
Yes.
If you wait longer, what happens?
Possibly death. More people die.
And you're trained on that.
Yes, sir.
The time is of the essence.
Yes, sir.
Every second counts.
Yes, sir.
And because you've been trained, and the defense has sponsored you on that issue, if there's a police officer in a vehicle here, by this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th building, in front of the 5th building,
Okay.
and you hear gunfire over here, and you're by yourself, what do?
You have to head towards the gunfire.
And so what direction would you take?
The direction where I heard it.
Would you show us with the...
So it depends where I would have heard it. If I heard it over here, I'd go over there. If I heard it on this side, I'd make my way this way. I just go towards where I hear the sounds.
Would you go on the other side of your car?
If I didn't know where the shots were coming from or if they were directed at me, the first thing I do is probably take cover to make sure I'm not being shot at. And then from there, if it's not at me, if it's somewhere else, then I'd approach that.
And if you heard repeated fire?
Yes, I'd be under the understanding that somebody else is being shot at.
So it's time of the essence at that point.
Yes,
And then you move.
yes, sir.
And if you're alone?
Same thing. Take cover if I think I'm getting shot at. If I realize it's someone else being shot at, approach that area.
And if you believe the shots are coming from the teacher's parking lot and you start here, what happens? I mean, is this building covered for you at that point?
It's brick, yes.
If it's brick, it is covered. But what happens as you get to the end, to the edge?
There's something in the way, so you'd have to stand far away from it to get a pretty good view. But you just pile around here and see what you see.
And if you see the shooter, what do you do?
Eliminate them, shoot them, whatever you can do.
And if you have a handgun?
That's all you have, you use it. Preferably you want to get close enough so you don't miss, but you use what you have.
What if he has a rifle?
I try to get close to something as I shot to get stable.
But you would still shoot,
Yes,
even if you had a handgun and you knew he had a rifle.
yes. Especially if there's other officers over here, they'd probably follow suit if I started firing, and maybe they'd have a better chance.
And you might be able to distract him.
Yes, suppress something.
And fire, you could delay him,
Yes,
even if he missed.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, sir.
So just engage. You would engage.
If I see someone with a gun as I cross that corner right there, yes, I have to.
And would you distract
Either or,
or delay
yes,
or eliminate?
yes,
But you do what you could do to do one of those things.
yes, sir.
And do you know how full the parking lot was that day? With cars?
I made it out after, I didn't come out of there till it was over, so 12:51, 52. By then it was flooded with everybody. So I don't know before how many cars were there.
Thank you. That's what.
By the time you got there, you were being briefed by people.
Yes, sir.
So by the time you got there, you were taking instruction by fellow officers that you trusted.
Yes, sir.
And they had been there longer than you, so you knew the circumstances, you already been heard, you had heard some of them. So you taking direction from officers that have already been at the scene and are briefing you because they've been dealing with it for a while is different than you arriving at a scene with a potential witness. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So the first officer that showed up, if there's a witness there with him on the southeast side of the corner, and that witness could be hysterical, you don't just take directions from a potentially hysterical witness, do you?
Well, I mean, if they say they point somewhere, I'm gonna look and see if what they're saying is making sense.
Well, okay, see, you said some things that make sense to me now. You're gonna look, you're gonna observe, you're gonna orient, and then you're gonna confirm whether it makes sense or not.
Yes.
What you're not gonna do is show up to a situation, you hear gunfire, you think you're being shot yourself, and then you deal with somebody who's a witness saying, over there, no reasonable officer is just gonna start running over there, in this area that you don't see the threat, right?
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't do that right away.
No, I wouldn't. I'd try to figure out where it's coming from and then head that way.
That's right, and so when you say try to figure out, that takes a little bit of time to try to figure things out, right?
Yes.
It took 376 officers over an hour to figure things out, right?
Objection outside the record.
Well, no, I asked him about it earlier, Judge.
Overruled, you can answer if you know.
It took 376 officers over an hour to figure things out, right?
Yes, sir.
But the government was asking you about 3 minutes with Adrian by himself?
Yes, sir.
So we talk about it takes time to assess the situation. That's observe and orient, and then you decide, and then you act, right? That's what your training is.
Yes.
But it's so much harder when you're not seeing a threat, when you're hearing the threat, right?
Yes.
And you testified earlier, there's no special training, all these wonderful officers here, they don't have special training on hearing a gunfire and then knowing exactly where it's at, correct?
Not that I know of.
Neither me as well. And so now I want to direct your attention to So I want to talk to you about what you know now, maybe what Adrian did. They were looking for a master map, a layout of the school, correct?
Yes.
Because you said you were familiar with the school because of your daughter being there.
I knew of the two buildings. I knew where the check-in was and the cafeteria. All the other buildings, I've seen her run from every direction. I don't know which kids go where.
So
Pretty much.
you know now though that Adrian drove into the trouble, right? All the way in the southeast corner.
Yes.
Right? By himself. Right? By himself.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you know now that he was one of the first officers, one of the first 5 in the building.
Yes, sir.
You know now that he was in a fatal funnel with those first 5 officers, and 2 of those officers got shot.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
You know now that he stayed in the fatal funnel until he got directions from a supervisor to go call SWAT, right?
I didn't know
Do
that.
you know that now?
I know that now.
But if an officer is told by a supervisor, once there's other officers in a fatal funnel or in a situation, to go get help, get SWAT, would it be reasonable for an officer to leave the school or leave a situation to call SWAT?
If the supervisor tells you to, you're gonna follow his instructions, more likely.
Right, and that's reasonable because other officers are there covering and containing, right?
Yes.
And you would agree that that animal that was in room 111 and 112, he was contained, right?
Well, he couldn't leave without us
That's my point.
shooting him.
So
Yeah.
he was contained, right?
Yes.
And if it wasn't for those first 5 officers, let's forget the 376 for a second. If it wasn't for those first 5 officers, that shooter potentially could have walked through the whole school and done the same thing to all those other precious children.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes.
Because without those first 5 officers to contain that animal, there would be nothing stopping him from going to the other rooms, right?
Yes, sir.
So those first 5 officers played a key role in containing, which is part of your training, containing the threat. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
And then so you also know that Adrian ultimately, not only did he go to the danger initially by himself, not only did he go into the school as one of the first 5 officers, not only did he stay into the fatal funnel, not only did he take instruction from his supervisor to call SWAT for backup, he ultimately found the map of the school so they can make further assessments. You know that now, right?
Now I know that.
And you also know that he's the one that found that master key to give to them to breach, so you guys could breach. Correct?
Now I know that, yes.
And you also know that he, with other officers, once he saw that that hallway was covered, they are the ones breaking the windows and helping those other children get out. There's pictures and video of him getting out,
Yes.
right? You know that now.
Yes.
So Adrian wasn't just standing around for 3 minutes doing nothing. You would agree with that now that you know this, right?
Yes.
Would you think that's a mischaracterization of his behavior?
Everybody has,
Standing around for 3 minutes?
everybody says different things. What I say doesn't matter. They're gonna have their own opinions.
That's right. And really what ultimately matters what these 12 people think. But what I'm saying is everyone has an opinion, and we're trying to talk about some of the facts,
Okay.
right? Do you agree that facts matter over people's opinions?
Yes.
We have to analyze the facts, and so I'm presenting facts to you, and you're just sharing your thoughts with me, right?
Yes, sir.
1 second, Joe. Did you have knowledge, did you come to find out that radios were not breaking in the school? Do you know what I mean by breaking?
No, I understand.
Yeah.
We have that problem in my town, but I found out about it later, yes.
Okay. Will you explain to the jury, because that's a term of art, breaking, if a radio breaks, will you explain to them what that means?
It's pretty much if you don't have signal, like inside a building, it's hard to make communication with dispatch or anybody else who has that radio. It's just a brick, it doesn't work.
And so maybe that makes more sense why the supervisor instructed Adrian to go outside to call for SWAT, because radios weren't breaking just like in your town?
Yes, sir.
And direct your attention to that breach that you and the other board TAC officers did. That, and again, this wasn't your decision, but that took an hour to happen. That breach took an hour before it happened. From when you got there, it
Yes,
took an hour.
yes, yes, sir.
Right? But the government asked you about 3 minutes of Adrian being by himself, right?
Yes, sir.
But it took over an hour for that breach to happen with 376 officers there?
Yes, sir.
That's the witness, Judge.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Officer, if we could, once again, we have a police officer in a vehicle at this spot, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he hears shots fired in this area, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's a witness there, I believe, has been the representations, correct?
Yes, sir.
When the officer hears the shots fired and a witness gives you information, what do you do?
I'll follow up on the information.
For what purpose?
If there's shooting going on, to stop it.
To stop it, eliminate the shooter.
Yes, sir.
Don't you go get a map?
Not if I hear the shots. I'll try and figure out the general direction and then approach it.
Don't you go get keys?
No, if it's outdoors, you don't need keys.
If it's outdoors, you don't need keys.
No.
You don't have a fatal funnel.
No, sir.
You don't need a map. You don't need to go get keys. Do you need to stop and evacuate people?
No.
So the fact that you may end up eventually evacuating people doesn't say what you were doing those 3 minutes, correct?
No, sir.
But he certainly wasn't approaching the gunman.
No, sir.
And you didn't hesitate to do that.
I just asked and went.
You just went.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Absolutely.
He asked about there's no fatal funnel outside, right?
Yes, sir.
You ever heard of a fatal field? I made it up. So a fatal field, yeah, don't worry, it wasn't a trick question. So if I'm in a field, an open field with no cover, a handgun versus an AR-15,
Yeah, it's bad.
yeah, it's bad, right? And so you don't just run without any, you said follow up on information. And follow up on information means assess and figure out, right?
Yes, sir.
And listen and observe. Again, in that scenario, there's still been no line of sight. A shooter is not in your view, in Adrian's view, right?
Yes, sir. No, sir.
I mean, and then we can see the distances. These are long distances, right?
Yes.
And so you talked about taking that corner, and it's called cutting or slicing the pie. The jury's heard about that.
Yes, sir.
But you also acknowledged that AC unit with that fence changes the tactics on that corner, right?
Yes.
First of all, we know now, and they're not even contesting this, Adrian does not see this shooter, correct? Right?
Yes.
And Adrian can't tell if it's on the west side or the north side. He just hears shooting, right?
Yes, sir.
So whether he should run east or west, maybe getting instruction from a person that's frantic and stressed out, right?
Yes.
And stress, as we've heard other witnesses, but you know through your training and experience, can do interesting things to your sight, your perception, and your hearing, right?
Yes.
You've heard of tunnel vision.
Yes.
You've heard of auditory exclusion.
Yep.
You've heard of perception distortion, correct?
Yes.
Perception distortion means that what really happened is distorted by stress, so your perception becomes your reality and you think that that's what really happened.
Yes, sir.
And that can happen. And that's why you're trained that if somebody is excited, understandably, by the way, nobody is criticizing this young lady at this point, but that you're not going to just do whatever they say immediately. You have to wait, assess, follow up on the information, meaning it takes a little bit of time,
Yes, sir.
especially if you don't have line of sight of the shooter, right?
Yes.
If you have line of sight of a shooter, like those 3 officers in the corner, you don't have to, your assessment's going to be a lot quicker.
Yes.
Right? So the 3 officers in the corner, if they were getting information from a very understandably excited witness, but they can assess that words that they're getting because they have a visual, because they're following up and they're observing and orientating themselves to the circumstance because they can see what's going on, right?
Yes, sir.
Very different, right? And so those officers had a line of sight. One of them asked for permission to shoot and had the ability to shoot and stop, right?
Objection repetitive, Your Honor.
I will sustain that objection.
But what we know for sure is nobody from that corner followed the shooter into the west building.
No, sir.
What else we got from this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Well, I'm doing one,
That's what
check
I'm
one
asking.
thing, Judge. Yes, sir. Do you know now, but by the time that Adrian radioed in potential position of the shooter, he was already in the building?
Yes.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, recall either side.
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Okay, sir, you are excused with our thanks. I'm gonna tell you the rule's been invoked, you know what that is.
Yes, sir.
Just try to avoid talking about the case until you know the case is over with.
Yes, sir.
That's your today. Thank you very much.
You know who went into the fatal funnel? My
Ma'am?
sister went into
Yeah.
the fatal funnel.
Ma'am,
Did she need a key? Why do you need a key?
ma'am, go ahead and have a
Wasn't it
seat.
locked? Y'all are saying that she didn't lock her door. She went into the fatal funnel. She did it! Not you, bastard!
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to disregard the outburst. I forewarn these folks, if they do that, there's not going to be any warnings. They're going to be removed for the rest of the trial. That's unfortunate, very unfortunate. So thank you very much. We'll see you back here at 1:30, and remember my instructions, 1:30. several days in trial. I want this case to go to verdict. Any further outburst will just echo the attempt for another motion for mistrial. So please think about that. We're trying to get this case to the jury, and these are not helping. And soon enough, if it continues, I will have no choice but to grant a mistrial. So please think about that. All right, we're in recess, 1:30.
All right.
Okay. If the lady's gone, yes, I don't have to disclose what's screen.